by Julian Garrity, who is the content director with Ubisoft Shanghai.
That's right.
And John Miller, GameSpot's John Miller.
Hey, hey.
Now, he's playing the game. He can't talk a lot because, Julian, you control this game with your voice, right?
That's the big feature that everybody's talking about.
Okay.
Everything on the battlefield is controllable with your voice.
Okay.
So it's really cool to play, but really difficult to do an interview and play at the same time.
Yes, of course. So, sound guy, feel free to shut John Miller off at any point because he's got a battle to win.
I have no idea what you guys are saying.
So give me an idea of, I know there's a lot we want to talk about in this segment, but give me an idea of the various commands you can do with your voice. What kind of things can you do?
Well, basically, this was one of the big challenges in terms of the design of the game. We had to think of a design that was streamlined enough where you could do everything just with your voice. So that goes from things such as attacking, Unit 1, attack hostiles, all gunship, attack hostile 3, stuff like that. And you have to do all the upgrading, capturing of the strategic points. You've got to manage your airstrikes, your WMDs even, just with your voice.
So I'm guessing, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you have a pretty extensive tutorial in this game to teach you what you can and can't say. And how'd you go about designing how, I guess, liberal you want to be with what commands can make you do what? I mean, you have to be really precise with what you say?
Well, actually, there are about 40 words.
Okay.
The vocabulary is about 40 words long. And those 40 words, with the combinations, allows for thousands of combinations,
Okay.
and that allows you to do everything in the game. Of course, the tutorial is a fairly heavy part of the single-player campaign.
Okay.
In fact, it's spread across 10 missions that teach you not only how to play, but also take you through the road to World War III. Okay. So you're seeing the events that lead to this explosion of massive conflict.
And that sets up the plot perfectly. Give us an insight into the storyline in EndWar. It's World War III.
It's World War III. The scary thing is that you're seeing more and more of these things in the newspapers.
I don't want to talk about it, Julian.
We have an intro video that shows the gas prices rising.
Right.
And we did that video 2 years ago. And the gas price there, we're getting very, very close to it. Yeah.
Okay, well, hopefully it's not too prophetic.
No, let's hope not, because, you know, it's World War III and that's it. It's
so who are the factions here? We've got the Russians, the U.S.
The Russians, the U.S., and the Europeans.
Okay.
Those are the three factions. And in fact, what we're going to show you a little bit later on is the Shard, the theater of war. This is the massively multiplayer segment of the game where you have an image of the Atlantic theater of the war, the globe, and it's like a risk board with 40 different territories.
Okay.
And each of those territories has a strategic importance.
Okay.
And you're going to be able to choose which missions you want, which fronts to defend, which fronts to attack, and what bonuses they're going to give you. Let's say airstrikes, more army reserves, more intelligence on the enemy, stuff like that.
So constantly evolving battlefield.
Absolutely.
Pretty cool. So in the single-player game, you've got a storyline. How many missions are we talking about? What's this compromise?
You have actually, it's done in two parts, the single-player. The first 10 missions are the tutorial, and they'll take you through the story until World War III explodes.
Okay.
Once World War III explodes, you pick a faction, and then you go on a non-linear basis. You choose which battles, which fronts to attack, which fronts to defend on those 40 territories. So it may last 30, 40, 50 turns of you picking off one territory after the other.
Now we're looking at John, I guess, controlling some helicopters here. Can you give us some insight into the different kinds of units you can control?
Yeah, actually, in terms of the units, we kept it very simple, much like Advance Wars, which was one of our big inspirations. So there are 7 different kinds of units, 2 different types of infantry, riflemen and engineers. They have either speed or weapons bonuses. Then you have gunships, transports. Transports are like military buses. You can put your infantry inside them. Tanks, of course, artillery, long-range death dealers, very effective long-range, very weak up close, so you don't want to get them into a battle. And the command vehicle. The command vehicle is, it gives you intelligence, it gives you a camera view which is very different from the battle camera view.
And do you have complete control over how you develop your particular army, or are you required to do this many air units? And
No, it's completely up to you. And in fact, we kept it very accessible and very streamlined for the 7 units, 7 types of units, but you can upgrade them exactly how you want to do. So each one of them has attack, defense, mobility, and ability upgrades that you'll be able to unlock, not only by gaining experience, by making them survive through different missions and battles, but also by using the credits that you're going to get for winning battles. So that battalion is going to be persistent, and you're going to want to take care of them. If they fought 50 battles, they're upgraded to the max. You don't want them to die on the battlefield.
But you get attached to these guys, and if they die, your army is depleted, right?
That unit is depleted,
Okay.
so you'll have to start off with junior units again, for example.
Okay.
So you guys want to hop back out and check out World War III, the theater of war?
Let's check that
Yeah,
out.
let's check that out.
So again, this is a persistent online world. It reminds me a bit of Chromehounds, how they did that with Chromehounds.
It's very similar to that, but this one works.
Okay.
Because
Wow.
we've actually worked on it for a long time. Our beta test that we did with 15,000 players had people really participating in this battle on a limited scale.
Okay.
Now, we've stress tested it. We know how it's going to work. You're going to be able to choose a battalion, a faction, choose your specialty, let's say gunships or tanks or whatever, mechanized, and build that army. And we'll just see the risk board, let's say.
Well, while that's loading up, let's get a question from Kristen from the audience.
Yeah, so Kristen Peterson from Oslo actually has a question that I'm really interested in myself. How is this game going to handle dialects and accents? Are they going to be a problem at all, or is it
Actually,
easy?
we're launching the game in 5 different languages for the American and European master. Then we're going to launch it in Japan. And we have a Russian and a Polish version coming out too on 360 and PS3. And we're testing it on 3 different continents, not only in Asia, but in Europe and in America. So we're testing it with American accents, with Canadian accents, with French, English, Spanish.
Are you testing it with
different-
rednecks? Because my people need to play games too.
I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
I'm not going to say who's testing it for the redneck accents, but
Okay.
yes, we have some elite rednecks.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so this is the theater of war we're looking at right now. So always changing, right?
This is the beginning of the war, so
Okay.
you're only at the second turn. You have 2 missions available, and we're playing for the European side. Now, this area, Le Cieto, is in the south of France, and it's a military bridge. You're going to have to be defending that against the USA, which is trying to snatch that away from the European faction. If the Americans snatch that away from the Europeans, they're going to gain air support for their continued invasion in Europe.
Okay.
Now, the other map that we have is a conquest map in Eastern Europe. Now, this conquest map, we're on the offensive this time. Europe is trying to snatch it away from Russia. And here, if we win it, we not only get air support, but we get army reserves.
Okay.
So that's going to be a very important strategic map.
All right, Kristen, I know you got more questions. Let's have a few more.
Yeah, and hey guys, please lay off the Little Big Planet beta key requests, because you're not going to... You'll find out
We'll
for
get 'em.
trivia, okay?
We'll get 'em.
Stop, because I can't help
Let's
you right
talk
now.
EndWar.
We want to talk about EndWar right now.
Right.
And Ryan Croft from Buffalo Grove actually does, and he wants to know, do you have to use the voice control, or can you use like a controller setup instead?
It's actually set up to be as easy to play as an FPS. So if you're comfortable with a first-person shooter, you know how to use the 2 thumbsticks for camera, the trigger finger, that's all you need.
Okay.
So it's as streamlined as that.
The question I have about multiplayer
Yep.
is, if you're playing with allies, how do you separate the commands you're giving to talking to your allies?
We've actually split that between the right trigger for the
Okay.
voice commands. So your finger's on the trigger,
Okay.
you speak your commands, your units react, and the right button, which you hold down to do voice commands.
Okay, and is that the same way in the single player, that you have to hold down the right trigger to
Absolutely.
speak? Okay,
Yeah.
so that's familiar across both.
All the controls are identical across single player and multiplayer.
All right. Kristen, let's do one more question for Julian.
Okay. 2 seconds. Clayton Earn from California wants to know, how many different units are there in each faction?
So each faction is completely symmetrical. They all have 7 types of units, but their upgrades will be different. So they're different abilities, they're different weapons for each of the units. And each faction has about 100 different upgrades.
And I think we're actually looking at some of the upgrades right now on the screen.
And these are the upgrades for the European factions. So not only in this screen, which is inspired by Need for Speed, can you change the camo, something that's just aesthetic. You get to choose the different weapons, the different mobility bonuses, defense bonuses, and abilities that the units are going to have. One of my favorite upgrades is called Force Recon. And that allows you to parachute your engineers behind enemy lines, so to surprise the enemy like that. Of course, that takes a lot of experience. It takes a lot of money. So you're only going to be seeing those types of upgrades later on during the game.
All right. Well, the final question, of course, is when will we all be playing EndWar? Well,
there's a special VIP demo that's going to be launched October 30th.
Okay.
And if you pre-order the game in certain retailers, they'll give you a VIP demo key.
Very nice.
Now, that's going to be exclusive to a fairly limited amount of people.
Sure.
Afterwards, we've got an open demo, but that's much later on, and the game comes out November 4th.